What's up, everybody? Welcome to my channel. I am DJ, aka the Token Black Guy. If you are new here for the first time, do me a favor, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Truly appreciate it. Excuse me. I'm trying to get to 300 subscribers by the end of April, so every little bit of support will help. So just posted my recap and review of Halo Episode 3 Emergence, which means now it's time to watch Halo Canon's breakdown of Easter eggs and stuff we missed. So, he always does a good job. Make sure you go to that channel, Halo Canon. He does some of the best breakdowns and just knowledge of Halo lore. He's one of the best channels out there. So give him a like and subscribe over there. So let's check out what he got to say about this. Let's put the headphones on and see what information and what stuff that I did not catch, that I did not know about in this episode. Here we go. Dun-dun. Dun, dun. Love that sound. That ringtone. Man, I did get a new phone.
Welcome back, Canonites, for another Halo the Series episode breakdown. As always, I'll be making comparisons to core canon, aka the games, books, and most other Halo media, though these shouldn't be taken as criticisms unless specified. With that, let's dive in. This episode finally gets into Maki's backstory, opening up
a little bit. Yeah, I want to know more about her.
In core canon, Oban was a planet discovered after the outbreak of the Human-Covenant War and used as a relocation site for millions of refugees, eventually even some from New Mombasa. But beyond that and being a UNSC staging area, very few details on the planet exist. In 2558,
after the events of Halo 2,
Oban was the site of a Guardian Emergence. In the Silver timeline, Oban is located in the Visper system and is classified as a Tier 2 waste salvage colony. This is one of the changes that didn't really land with me. Given Oban's core canon backstory as a planetary refugee camp, I feel like there would have been a great opportunity for commentary on the UNSC's treatment of war refugees, a not too uncommon criticism in core canon. Anyway, we soon meet who turns out to be
I thought she would be younger when she got
read
abducted.
The book Dawn of Angels by an unnamed friend. They talk about the idea of other planets, no surprise that barely educated children would be skeptical of the concept, though are soon caught by the security forces for the worksite. The boy is beaten to death, and we find that the scarring Maki carries was caused by one of the stun staffs. Seems that Maki's hatred of humans isn't entirely the result of her Covenant upbringing. Speaking of which, the Covenant soon show up. A pair of mates drop in and begin using a staff, which they refer to as a luminary, to search for something. Luminaries haven't been depicted much in core canon, though, like here, they are used to track down Forerunner relics, though usually not so directly.
Yeah.
And, like with
metal
Maki,
detector,
they will also identify humans, or more specifically, Reclaimers. In core canon, it was a luminary detecting the humans of Harvest that led to First Contact, and, by extension,
that
war.
That is
Just
right.
As it looks like Maki will die, she's inadvertently saved
Contact
by
Harvest. That's a good backstory of
Sergeant
Johnson.
Loyalty towards the Covenant. Flashing to the present, we find Maki in full human garb, meeting with the High Prophets.
The Prophets look so good.
She explains her plan to investigate at Madrigal, after which Mercy asks what she'll do if she encounters the Chief, one who is like her, setting up for a confrontation down the line. After the opening, we come to Reach.
Looks so good.
Miranda Keyes looking at a hologram.
I'm not happy with Miranda Keyes'
Admiral
character.
Perengoski confirms the artifact has been dated back over 100,000 years, the era of the Forerunners and the activation of Halo. Perengoski reveals that she's creating a parallel team to study the artifact, with Miranda at its head. We then get this shot from the trailer.
I'm interested in finding a way to be less reliant on Dr. Halsey moving forward.
Perengoski deliberately working Miranda against Halsey like this reminds me a lot of Saren Osman in the core canon. Born Saren Chelik, she was a Spartan 2 recruit whose body would be ravaged by the augmentation process, becoming one of the 30 believed to have been killed. In truth, Saren 019, like other fatalities, was put in cryo so she could potentially be resuscitated someday. Saren was taken in by Perengoski directly and raised as the Admiral's replacement. And, like what seems to be happening with Miranda, Saren came to, understandably, hate Dr. Halsey.
True.
I don't know if this is the exact route the show is going, but I can't help but feel some parallels to Saren Osman.
I just don't like how they did
Miranda.
Miranda.
We cut over to Halsey's lab where the Cortana project is being prepped. Here, Halsey actually speaks to her clone, something which never happened in core canon, treating viewers to a bit of important exposition in the process. In core canon, development on
there are
Cortana
movies for these harvesting organs and stuff.
Herself 20 times, rapidly growing the clones and emphasizing brain development, before harvesting them, transferring her memories into them, and merely one leading to the birth of Cortana. In total, Cortana's creation took about 6 months, with the AI born on November 7th, 2549, or 11/7. Additionally, she was created specifically for Operation Red Flag, a desperate
11/7.
move to
Makes
end
sense,
the Covenant
117.
War. In contrast,
Did not
Silver
realize
Timeline
that.
Halsey has created but one clone, one which seems to have memories up to the Spartans' childhood before their augmentations. We incidentally discover that only 35 survived the process, the other 40 candidates implied to have died. In core canon, 35 survived the initial augmentations, with 12 crippled and 30 reportedly killed. Red
The
Team from
original
Halo
Spartans,
Wars
right?
were among the 45 crippled or killed, incidentally. Back to the show, though, the clone additionally knows about the Cortana project.
I never
that
played
Halsey has
Halo
been
Wars.
thinking
I
about
should play
this
that.
for years.
Just for the story.
As the conversation continues, the clone assembles what are referred to as Sorvad solids, something new to the Silver Timeline that's named after Dr. Laszlo Sorvad, the dead scientist from Halo Reach. Behind the clone, we can spot a number of Spartan helmets, most looking like new designs. Although this one might be a Nightfall helmet, again, hard to tell. Halsey then notes that she has
I've perfected the process for real-time neuroelectrical imaging.
which definitely makes it sound like smart AI aren't a thing in this timeline. The
That's-
brain scanning
yeah.
process was a
There were so many other
well-established
smart
practice by the
AIs,
26th
right?
century in core canon. Silver Timeline Cortana might be the first of her kind.
Hmm.
The clone additionally asks after Miranda, making me wonder if, like in core canon, Halsey raised Miranda for several years before giving her over to Keyes. Halsey ends the conversation there, though, without an answer. The scene really shows just how cold and detached Halsey can be, and to nail it home, the clone asks one last question.
Why,
Seems
guy?
that Halsey considered how meeting
Oh,
her
my
own
brain.
clone could go, wondered if she'd even be able to go through with it. The clone asks what changed in the years since, to which Halsey responds,
Progress.
the next scenes deal with the creation of Cortana and her being implanted into the Master Chief, which, funny enough, seems to take a bit of inspiration from Red vs. Blue. After Halsey takes some time to convince John of this course of action, we see the creation of
The eye
Cortana,
scene.
a
Oh my
rather
God,
horrifying process that
Yeah,
requires
that-
the clone to be
I can't
awake
stand
while her
eye
brain
stuff.
is harvested.
Ugh.
And I don't know about anyone else, but I got some
Hate eye
Dead
stuff.
Space 2 vibes from this scene.
I just hate eye
And on the
stuff.
subject of creepy, it seems that Dr. Saley here has the hots for his boss. I'm sure that's never going to come back up.
I didn't even catch
After
that.
the harvesting, complete with traditional AI chip, Cortana is immediately implanted into John while the clone's body is destroyed.
I
This
didn't
is the
remember.
Red vs. Blue inspiration I was mentioning earlier. Cortana implanted directly into the Chief's
was
brain,
like in the-
similar to Project Freelancer and RVB, rather than being plugged into his armor.
See,
In core
like I said in my
canon,
review,
events
it was
similar
more
to
of
this
his
did
armor.
play out. On August 29th, 2552, just before Reach would fall, John underwent surgery to enhance his neural implant, after which he field-tested Mjolnir Mark V armor while having Cortana connected to his armor.
Okay.
The birth of a legendary partnership. Back to the show, though.
But she wasn't
Cortana
directly
comes online
implanted
for the first
into his.
time and speaks
She
her
was more
first
part of his
words.
suit.
When the game is over, the king and the pawn go back into the same box.
The same
Why
way
is she so
core
big?
canon Cortana spoke when she was created,
Yep.
though in English here rather than Italian in core canon. The
Oh,
quote was one spoken to Halsey by her mother after their first game of chess. Cortana goes on to bring up the Chief's service record, during which we can see some of the graphics from the Halo the Series.tv website, remarking about the Chief being above average in strength, stamina, and good instincts. AKA,
Luck.
while the Chief has always been noted as
why
being
she chose him.
lucky
Because
in
didn't
terms of
Cortana get
strength
to pick
and
who she
stamina,
wanted?
core canon
Because
Chief is
I
always
remember at
considered
core,
something more of an
she picked him
average
because he was
person.
lucky.
Even in terms of leadership, there were some Spartans that could arguably outclass John. For me,
Yeah.
that was part of what made the Chief special. That he wasn't the best, but average as far as Spartans go. He wasn't a chosen one, which it
He was
feels like the
lucky.
show is setting up for.
Yeah.
Just the Spartan who happened to make it. Over on the rubble, Quan Ha is getting restless, wanting to return home to fight. As she makes her way to see Soren, we can spot some people watching a news holo showing a
Is that
coveted
a-
CCS-class battlecruiser over the planet of Tantalus. In
Being
core
glassed.
canon, Tantalus was part of the Epsilon Eridani system, same as Reach, which can't be the case for the Silver Timeline. The
Yeah.
planet was home to the Tantalus 10,000. Later, we can spot a fusion coil being used as a light, and Soren's son, Kessler, points out Hesiod's moon, Metaset. Metaset in core canon was intended by the Covenant for use as an Ungoi breeding colony, becoming forces that would first be used to take the rubble, and then eventually Earth.
West grunts,
Obviously,
right?
that didn't happen. Back on Reach, John, now awake post-surgery, gets to meet Cortana for the first time. Their first meeting is a little rough, and probably not too far out of line for how things might have gone in core canon under the same circumstances. As previously mentioned, Cortana and John's first core canon meeting was immediately followed by a training exercise showing John Cortana's value in the field. In the Silver timeline, without any direct experience, John is understandably unsettled with the idea.
I didn't like that interaction with
Cortana's
them.
implant comes with a hologram projector so she can just appear anywhere. We then cut to the UNSC Gladius on patrol near the 23 Libre system. Interestingly, the ship's class is never given, though it's modeled after the Gladius-class heavy corvette from Core Canon. Gladius-class corvettes were traditionally manufactured by Tansec AB, while this ship was produced by Synoviet Heavy Machinery. This appears to be a result of cost-saving measures by the production, with the bridge of the Gladius...
It's still kind of detailed. I don't pay that much attention to, but this guy, he goes in-depth with it.
I will say, though, the ship interiors so far have looked like they were pulled straight out of the games.
Yeah.
Anyway, the Gladius soon encounters a Covenant SDV heavy corvette and are hailed by Maquis, pretending to be an escaped colonist from Circumstance. Circumstance in Core Canon was also a planet from the Epsilon Eridani system, and home to Kurt 051, Spartan 2, and eventual lead of the Spartan 3 program. It was also home to the future Spartan 4, Carlo Hoya. The captain sends over a remote Bumblebee escape pod to pick up Maquis and brings her over. Of course, if you've seen the trailers, you know how this goes. Maquis boards and unleashes a swarm of Lekgolo, eel-like creatures that make up hunters, or Mega Lekgolo as they are properly called. We actually get to see a hunter tease just a little earlier.
I did like that. I forgot about that. That was pretty cool.
Its captain with a cool fingernail-embedded energy blade.
Was like another eye scene.
Data had been purged, per the Cole Protocol, and resumes her quest to Madrigal. Before leaving the ship, she makes a transition to her ship, informing the crew that the Gladius held nothing of value. We'll come back to this later. Back on Reach, Halsey begins her tests with the Madrigal artifact, having
all the time out his
monitors him.
Armor
bothers
me.
Once the artifact activates, Halsey has Cortana put the chief in a sort of stasis, something never possible in Core Canon. At which point the activity stops.
He never had control over his body
himself.
himself.
In control of themselves, it seems, can activate these relics. Heading back to the Spartan barracks, John spots Marines playing a game of some kind. I don't know if it's based on anything.
Bocce ball.
The Marines spot John, and the room is quiet as the Marines are in awe of the Spartan. In the Spartan barracks, we find Kai 125 engaged with a member.
I like Kai.
While Vonik and Riz
he's very aware of Chief.
As 4D chess. On a wall, we can see per mare, per terras, per constellatium, meaning by the sea, by the earth, and by the stars. An apt motto for the UNSC.
Yeah.
Kai's memory game
includes play on the
Marines
terms, land, air, and sea.
Banshee, Longsword, Ungoi, the species name for grunts, Scarab, and Meg. While Meg might not seem like much, this could be a reference to an old Easter egg from Halo CE and Halo 2, the Meg. Created by designer Jamie Griesmer for his girlfriend, the original Meg was a bloody heart with an M made from bullet holes and could only be found with a ridiculous series of tasks. Back to the episode though, John meets the Silver Team who have been briefed on his recent actions. Before he can leave, Cortana appears and introduces herself. While the Chief is annoyed at her actions, Silver Team look a little more distressed. I suspect mostly because John kept a secret from them.
I hate that interaction when he acted with her.
Later, we find John searching for information about his memories, using one of these Spartan pods we saw Kai using for her memory game earlier. Cortana offers assistance, which the Chief eventually allows. Based on his descriptions, Cortana is able to identify 103 colonies or moons that might match John's interests.
Oh, that's when he was trying to figure out where he was from.
In canon, humanity had over 800 colonies and stations strewn across the Orion arm of the galaxy. Though he doesn't know it yet, John is searching for Eridnus II, his homeworld. Cortana's results, though, do pull up a number of familiar planets. Aleria was a desert world introduced in Halo Nightfall, whose lore seems to fall in line with its core canon counterpart.
I need to watch Nightfall again.
We can make out on the screen that the colony was founded in the 2400s and holds a population of over 295,000. A drought began to ravage the planet in 2453 as the local star, Elduros,
I got it on DVD somewhere. I need to rewatch that.
A period of instability that's been ongoing.
That's when you first meet Locke, right?
And like in core canon, the planet was effectively abandoned by the UEG. Aleria has one moon, though I can't make its name out. Next we have Algolis, which we covered extensively in my video on the website for the series, linked in the description below. Here it's noted as being founded in 2475 and, like in core canon, was attacked by the Covenant in 2549, though here its planetary defenses were destroyed by brute packs. Pablo Schreiber mentioned brutes being in the show in an interview, so we know they're coming, but this appears to be the first in-show reference to them. Silver Timer, I wonder how the brutes gonna look. Only has one moon, whereas the core canon version.
I wonder how they're gonna look CGI.
Next up, we have Binterol, a colony founded in the 2400s, though I can't make out the exact year, Holding a population of over 230,000 and, like in core canon, is home to a mix of human and alien populations, and home for all sorts of illegal activity. Winterall has a
Private
single
plan.
moon and appeared in Hunt the Truth and Halo Renegades.
I like Hunt the
Uranus
Truth.
doesn't
That's one of my
feature in core
favorites.
Canon, notably
I
being
need
the home to future
Renegades.
Spartan 3 Jonah B283. Kelly 087
I need to
also
expand my
detonated a
books,
nuke
some of
during
these
Covenant's invasion
lore
of the
books.
planet, destroying a Covenant forward operating base and temporarily saving a major city. The Silver
Spartan
Timeline
3s.
references these actions, noting that while the planet was glassed by the Covenant, no date given strangely, the UNSC inflicted heavy casualties for the Covenant too. Irene was also founded in the 2400s, had a population of 14 million, and
That's
has
a
one
big
moon.
population.
Gallodu is the first new planet shown from these results, founded in what appears to be 2456 and currently home to a population
Goodbye to
of
me.
9 million. Like the other planets, it has a single moon, this one named Clark. The colony was attacked in 2527, marking the earliest known attack in the Silver Timeline.
2527.
The planet is also noted as being home to an insurrectionist movement known as the Gallodu Emancipation, or at least I think that's what it's called. Mindiria is our next planet and might as well be a creation of the Silver Timeline, as very few details on the planet exist in core canon.
It's a small population
In the
too.
Silver Timeline, the colony was founded in 2509, has a population of around 6,200 if I'm reading this correctly, and has one natural satellite, Vu, maybe? The one core canon detail we have about Mindiria seems to carry over, however, the planet's description mentioning the wool of a native cameloid species being a popular export.
Okay.
Nusaka, basically New Osaka, is another core canon planet with very few details, though its inhabitants are said to have distinct physical features. In the Silver Timeline, the colony was founded in 2447, home to 11 million, and has one moon, Tsukiyomi, I think.
I'm guessing Japanese
Tsukiyomi
population.
is one of the names for the moon god of the Japanese Shinto religion. There's an additional note on the screen, though I can't make it out. Persia 9 in the Silver Timeline was founded in the 2400s, maybe 2450, with a former population of 2 million and one moon. The planet was glassed in 2540.
Oh, damn.
Like in core canon, an insurrection was put down there in 2524. Now, before we talk about Mamor, that's plot-critical stuff, let's touch on the colony of Renes. A lot of its lore seems to line up with what we know from core canon. Renes was a mining colony home to about 50,000 workers and only had sparse settlements on its surface. When the planet was hit by the Covenant, their focus on the settlements left the mines.
This is stuff that I would never have picked up in this show. This guy is so good at finding little details.
In the Silver Timeline, the colony was founded in 2409, at least I think.
I'm learning a lot
last
from this
by
video.
2548. Lastly, let's talk about Mamor. In core canon, the planet was a hotbed of insurrectionist activity, with a terrorist bombing on the Haven Arcology in 2511, killing 2 million and leaving several more injured. For Dr. Halsey, these events would cement the need for the Spartan 2 program, and for the UNSC, it meant a crackdown on the planet.
It kind of
The
sparked,
parents
yeah.
of Shiler Silva, a character from Halo 4 Forward
died.
to Dawn, were part of the crackdown and eventually lost their lives against insurrectionists. In 2552,
Forward to Dawn is a
332,
very good movie.
the future Noble 6, would operate a Saber fighter during anti-insurrectionist action. For the Silver Timeline, the details on the planet are pretty hard to make out, though I could find references to the insurrection. The planet was home to 400 million, and according to John, was where the Spartans lost Nora 098. That's a new Spartan, incidentally. Realizing the empty feelings he had for a fellow Spartan's death, compared to those he feels when he remembers,
He wanted to feel
John
something.
decides to cut the pellet out of his back that keeps him
We
balanced.
see his butt.
Cortana initially informs Halsey, but the doctor encourages the AI to help, wanting Cortana to be seen as trustworthy by John. So she does. Unknown to anyone, Kai watches from
Oh
a
yeah,
distance.
forgot about Kai.
Given her anxiety about the Chief's recent actions, it'll be interesting to see how she responds. Will she cut out her pellet too, confront the Chief directly, just
Try to
watch
take over
for a
Silver
while?
Team.
We'll have to wait for future episodes. Brief side note, when Cortana reaches out to Halsey, the Doctor is loading something that looks reminiscent of the opening cutscene for the library from Halo CE. It might be nothing, but I wanted to mention it. After removing the pellet, John decides to go out for a bit. Before he leaves,
I
we
did
spot a
I did not like this part of the
biofoam
show.
in his pocket.
I'm sorry.
Biofoam is a medical compound used to seal wounds in the field. As
Oh, you did
seen
put
in the
biofoam in
E3 ODST. On his way out, John passes through a literal and metaphorical portal as he's about to take his first steps into a world he's technically never experienced.
Yeah, when civilian
John then
clothes.
departs
So
from
weird.
Tyrrell Station, named for the smaller of Reach's moons. Cortana mentioning that the train stops at the Reach Naval Academy, Chakova Park, and Manassas. The Academy is pretty straightforward, and Manassas is a major spaceport from the core canon. We even get to see it in the Remember Reach advertisements. Chekova Park is the really interesting mention here, however, seemingly being named after Dima Chekova from Halo 4 Forward Unto Dawn, part of the core canon.
Didn't she die?
Chekova was the daughter of a high-ranking Oni official, and sadly died when Cercinius 4 was invaded by the Covenant. I wonder if, in the Silver Timeline, the park was named for her. On the train, John watches human interaction. Here we can find some UNSC recruiting materials.
Okay.
I've also tried to see if the civilian clothing match anything directly from Halo Reach, and while the clothing here fits the aesthetic Bungie established, I wasn't able to find anything specific. Arriving at Chekova Park, John decides to enjoy some music. While he does, a ball lands near him, which he promptly returns to the kid. It's hard to say, but this might be a grav ball, obviously for the sport of grav ball. In core canon, when John was a child, the other children at his school wouldn't let him play grav ball with them, as he always won. The game type Ricochet from Halo 4 and H2A is also a canon variant of grav ball. Returning to White Tower, John attempts to access the artifact again, aided by Cortana when he's seemingly locked out of the room where it's kept. This time we get much clearer images and audio, seeing John's mom and dad, the dad upset about something John is drawing, then forcing the child to bury them. Or at least I hope he's burying the drawings and nothing
more
else.
sinister. The dog.
I can't help but notice a certain canine absent in certain scenes. The drawings come up a lot in these flashbacks, his father seemingly trying to get John to stop for some reason. In these memories, we've seen John and his dog going beyond a wall of some kind,
What's that
one
say?
that reads danger beyond this point, which I suspect contains this cave we've seen young John in, and might be where another Forerunner relic is located. During this set of flashbacks, we initially see two clips with John holding a coin.
That's the coin when Halsey.
Canon,
Yeah.
even that kind of undersells it. When establishing her Spartan 2 program, Core Canon Dr. Halsey was initially funded for 300 candidates, but that was reduced to 150. After she'd identified her candidates, additional funding was dropped, leaving room for only 75 children in the program. To ensure the best, Dr. Halsey and her team scouted the candidates in person. When meeting John, Halsey decided to test him with a coin toss. John would get to keep the coin if he guessed the results correctly. John flips the coin, and John grabs it out of the air, declaring tails and winning the coin. The test represented John's luck, showing that he simply isn't lucky, but he makes his own luck. In the case of the coin, he waited for the optimal outcome and grabbed for it. We'll have to wait to see for sure, but it seems like the coin remains significant even in the Silver Timeline. After releasing the artifact, John informs Cortana of what he saw and has her cross-reference the new info with the list of planets
I'm on the fence with how Cortana looks.
One of which is Eridanis 2, John's home world. Eridanis 2 in core canon was an outer colony, mostly rural, though it did feature 2 cities and spaceports. It also notably lacked any rings. In the Silver Timeline, it seems Eridanis 2 was a site for the UEG's Reach for Life project, which has no core canon parallel, which built self-sustaining ecosystems in the hopes of bringing life to otherwise...
It would be cool to be on a planet that had rings, see it all the time.
In canon, terraforming barren worlds wasn't exactly outside the UNSC's ability. They could actually launch meteors at a planet to create a new layer of crust, or comets and ice to give a planet more water. Despite this, the UNSC would still often seek planets that were already somewhat habitable. So as advanced as terraforming might be in core canon, it still has its limits. Interestingly, this image from the project closely resembles Halo's logo. Anyway, when John inquires about the project, the files are said to be lost when...
Are we ever going to see Halo in this?
Down,
I'm pretty sure probably in the last episode we'll see a Halo for Season 2. I know they already confirmed the Season 2.
Upsilon, a protocol in core canon that's specifically for dealing with the Flood. I think it would be a bit of a stretch for the show to be hinting at the Flood being the plague that took out the colony, so I think this is likely just a reference for those in the know. That said though, new timeline, new rules.
We never know.
What's perhaps more interesting, though, is when Cortana mentions John being adopted.
I don't think you should bring the Flood into the very end, or even hint at the Flood like the end of the season. Next season.
As I've mentioned, in core canon, the Spartan 2 program was covered up by creating clones of the candidates, rapidly growing them to the proper age, then replacing the candidate with the clone. These clones would generally die in the weeks to follow as a result of genetic diseases brought on by the rapid growth. Though some would survive for a few years, they would eventually all pass on.
That's crazy.
I'm curious now if cloning was ever used in conjunction for the Spartan 2 program in this timeline. At this point, Halsey decides to stop observing, confronting John, though playing ignorant to him removing his pellet. Upon revealing the existence of the other artifact, well, I genuinely love Halsey's look of shock here. Anyway, when John insists on going to the planet directly, Halsey decides to tag along.
He's going with her.
Departing in the Zheng-He-class vessel, the Endymion 2, named after Halsey's homeworld, Chief, Cortana, Halsey, and a complement of scientists depart for Eridnus 2. Dr. Saline
Surprised they ain't bring the other Spartans.
could prove ruinous, to which Halsey responds,
That is what Cortana is for.
while I'm skeptical of this direction, I am starting to wonder if the plague on Eridanus 2 was fake or simply used to cover up John's abduction. We'll see. Back on the rubble, Quan tries to steal a freighter, Soren's favorite we learn, though is unsuccessful. Quan says Soren can't stop her, though Soren retorts, noting,
I could kill you for trying to steal my favorite ship. That would stop you.
I love Soren's twist.
I love Soren too.
Quan is
his
able to get Soren to escort her to Madrigal, promising her family has money from the deuterium they'd been selling for years.
Or he picked the bounty.
At command on Reach, Maki's transmission, though scrambled, is detected and Miranda Keyes is assigned to analyze it. We also learn that her system suffered a major crash, heavily implied to be Halsey's doing. With her now off planet, Captain Keyes recommends his daughter use every moment she has and properly protect her work. And that is going to do it for this episode breakdown. This was a massive
breakdown, man. Good break.
References, and like the second episode,
That's it.
is more dedicated to world building and laying groundwork for future.
I guess. I mean,
This was
I have
also
my
the first
complaints in this
where I
episode.
found myself a little dissatisfied with the story.
Me too.
Oban particularly
Me too.
felt off kilter to me. I like.
I'm glad I'm not the only one that felt this way.
Reason to dislike humanity from the get-go, but I feel like Oban's state could have been tied more directly to the Covenant War. Additionally, as noted, it feels like the show is setting up the Master Chief as a sort of chosen one. While certain details from the games have given people that impression in core canon, I personally never felt that to be an accurate description. As I said earlier, John wasn't the best, he was just the one who survived and happened to do what he did.
Had the best luck.
With the show, I've been getting a much more he's been chosen by fate sort of vibe.
Yeah.
Still, it's only episode 3, so we're missing a lot of information and context.
That's true. That's true.
Though I have to say,
I'm trying to
seeing my
remember that.
roommate, normally just tolerant of me talking about Halo, show genuine interest in the show after episode 1 was rather exciting. If the show clicks for general audiences, that's probably going to be a win.
And that's what they're trying to do, I
but
think.
These are just my thoughts and observations. Let me know
I
yours.
mean, I'm on the board with you. I'm
Halo
glad
Canon.
someone else feels the same way I feel about
Thank
it
you
right
for
now.
watching as always, and until next time, this has been Halo Canon.
Thank you. Halo Canon, man. Always a good breakdown, man. I appreciate everything you do, man. You point out the details that all of us don't see and everything, and your breakdown is amazing. But yeah, I'm glad that someone else kind of feels the same way I do about the story. I'm liking the show, but at the same time, as a Halo fan, it's kind of like it's irking me about some things. But yeah, like I said, it's only episode 3, so they have a whole lot more to go. I think what 10 episodes maybe. I'm not sure, but yeah, hopefully, by the next 2 episodes, it gets more action and more stuff going on and everything, and more into the weeds, as they say. But yeah, again, make sure you go over to Halo Canon, subscribe to his channel. If you're a Halo fan, he does good stuff, not just on the TV show, but just Halo lore and just breakdowns in general. Till next time, guys, I'll see you when I see you. Peace.